On today's DNVR Broncos show, we're talking about Bo Nix's big day. Josh Reynolds had a big day too, and a lot of... What are you doing here? Get out of here, Henry. James, get in here, baby.
This show just got a lot more attractive, didn't it?
Let's start now. Back-to-back days of Jimmy Palm Trees. Look at that.
Yeah, I said the show got a lot more attractive when Henry got kicked out. But then I look at myself in this chair, and either it's me or the chair, but the lower half of the lower torso doesn't look great.
We have Kale has the ability to blur things out. If you just want your lower half blurred out the rest of the show, we can do that.
It's not that. I'll look at this monitor and it will just get me back on the Peloton tomorrow.
Little motivation today.
Yeah.
And of course, we're the DNVR Broncos podcast with the great James Palmer, rocking and rolling with you. Zach Stevens, we got Kale behind the camera as well. Coming to you live from the Toyota Lounge, which is driven by your Front Range Toyota stores. Make sure to check them out if you need a new car. They've got plenty of options. And James, let's dive into this practice with a lot of highs. But unfortunately, there was a big low in the middle of practice that we should hit right away.
Yeah, Quinn Bailey goes down. It's not good when I was watching the other field and you hear expletives yelled by teammates. That kind of draws your eye over to how kind of gruesome this lower leg injury was. I've been to camps around the league. I've covered every camp in the league over the last decade. And what usually happens, Zach, with these is players like come over to the player and then they leave and then camp proceeds on the other field and it continues.
Right.
That didn't happen here. The entire camp shut down and stopped, and players did not go to Quinn Bailey. Players scattered from Quinn Bailey, and usually there's a trainer or two. There was like everyone around him from the training staff. 6 guys probably all around him. Cart's there immediately. Aircast is on immediately. Luckily, the Broncos keep an ambulance on site, actually in the players' parking lot for every practice. And he was taken immediately to that ambulance. And it was interesting to see, I don't know if you saw, like while he was getting loaded on, who was standing there during
I didn't.
Was George Payton.
That's really cool.
George Payton was over there for everything of him getting loaded in. It was just him and the medical staff. That was it. And it's hard for a camp to get back up and going when guys see that. A lot of these injuries, they suck, but you don't really see it. An ACL, you don't really see it. You know from guys' reactions and stuff. This visibly is shaking for everybody to get back into the mix of things because this was in the first portion of practice. And this is jarring for a few reasons. And Sean Payton said this afterwards. He was having a really good camp. And he's probably going to be the 6th offensive lineman, used in a lot of jumbo packages. I think when this baby, on a positive note, comes for Mike McGlinchey,
in the next few days,
next few days, Saturday at the latest. He told me today, wife will be induced on Saturday if it doesn't come by then. We're going to probably see a practice or two without Mike McGlinchey, rightfully so he can be there. And we probably would have seen maybe Quinn Bailey slide into that, right tackle spot and maybe see him work with the ones a little bit. But now this probably gives you the opportunity on who was the 7th offensive lineman. Because that's probably who we're going to start seeing slide in if Mike misses a practice or two. I'm not sure what his wife will allow or what his dedication to this team is. He says he's super stoked, for the baby to come, but just joking. But we might see who maybe was the next guy in line in Sean Payton's mind behind Quinn Bailey. But brutal blow. You hate to see these things at camp.
Yeah, brutal, and also a major injury. Not just, there something was going in the wrong direction on his leg, and that is why players freaked out the way that you thought. It was very apparent, and you mentioned it. Players scattered instead of going toward him. That's when it was like... surgery is already, to my understanding, scheduled. It could probably happen immediately.
So yeah, it was definitely not one to look at.
So a fractured ankle is what Sean said after practice, and it was really fractured, but also major in the way of, you mentioned it, Sean said he was easily their sixth offensive lineman. And James, you know, because you covered the entire NFL, you know better than anyone, you always tap into your backup offensive line. Like the Broncos almost didn't last year until McGlinchey's rib injury kept him out the 17th game. That was so rare. Typically, and people in Denver know just how many injuries happen to an offensive line. You always tap in to that sixth offensive lineman, sometimes for half the season, sometimes for 14 games because he plays 8 games at left guard, then 6 games at right guard.
Yeah, exactly right.
And so not to have him is big. So now they need to find out who that next guy is, like you said.
It's big, and also when that player's versatile, like Bailey was. You mentioned playing different spots. I'm not sure if everybody understands like how much those guys are beloved by coaching staffs.
Yeah.
The non-starter, but can play all 4 spots across the line and can give you a spell for a stretch of games where the idea is, and people always talk about this like with backup quarterbacks, but the idea is like, I had no idea we lost our left guard for 4 games. That's how it was plug and play with some of these backups. They're so important. You're right. Nobody goes through the season with their 5 intact, like for the duration of the year. So yeah, this is it's a big blow that it happens at this point, but also like you have rest to camp to evaluate your guys, and now I would think that George Payton and the rest of his scouting staff, they kick it into high gear. This is kind of what happens when these things happen. Starting today, they kick it into high gear, looking around the league who might get cut.
Right.
When cuts come down from another team that's heavy in the offensive line spot. I mean, they got Jonathan Franklin-Myers because there's just too many good defensive linemen with the Jets. When teams are stacked, all right, who's going to cut somebody? When can we go and grab this guy? That process probably already starts now when these things happen. So maybe time is on their side with it a little bit, in a sense, if you want to look glasses half full.
Yeah, no, it's a really good point. And since you mentioned it, with George Payton being there, George Payton's an awesome dude. A really good guy. That's why he's loved wherever he goes. Minnesota, he stuck around there for 15 years as a right-hand man, had opportunities to leave Minnesota, wanted to keep him as long as they could. And obviously, he's been seemingly, from an outside perspective, on the hot seat in Denver since Sean got here. Sean hasn't done anything. He said, I like you. You're staying here. And one of the reasons is because he's such a good evaluator, especially of like the back of the end roster guys. He's one of the best at that. And then also he's just a great dude. So that's just one thing that highlights it. Him being there for Quinn there.
Yeah, he's done a really good job of flipping it's funny. You talk to people in the organization. Obviously, Sean has most of the power. That's the way just things are set up in this building. It varies by building. But if you talk to people in the building, they'll tell you, like, this roster flip in the last 2 years since Sean Payton's been here, so we can kind of call it 2 years, right?
Yeah.
You know?
In terms of roster flipping,
George deserves a lot of the credit, and people in the building will tell you that. I think Sean would probably tell you that as well. Obviously, it's a collaboration between the two.
Right.
But George is bringing a lot of players to Sean, and his evaluation ability, it is so well respected around the league. Like, it really is. If he ends up leaving Denver, he will have a job in whatever type of time increment you want to use. 2 shakes of a kitten's whiskers, whatever you'd like.
I've never heard of that.
No?
Did you just make that up?
No, it's not mine.
I love that, though, because I'm a cat guy.
Probably you're a cat guy?
Yeah, I got 2 cats at home. 2 shakes of a kitten's whiskers?
Cool. cool cat story. Like, he would have a job immediately. Like, that's how good of an evaluator he is trusted. And we were having this conversation right outside the bar, walking to our cars. At least I was walking to mine. I don't know where you were headed.
I was
down the street.
I was walking home. Yeah, I don't know, down Colfax.
Yeah, just a man amongst town.
Yeah.
And I said to you, like, I know he gets a lot of blame for the Russell Wilson situation that happened here. Who would I tell you is like one of the most like highly regarded general managers in football right now? Howie Roseman in Philly. He wanted Russ. He made a push for Russ. Like, let's just kind of remember that was a wild situation that nobody really saw coming. As a whole, the totalitarian state of how he's evaluating players, he's really good at it.
Yeah, he is. And speaking of one of the players that he evaluated, Bo Nix.
Oh, yeah.
Might have had his best day at camp, but let's talk about our friends over at Toyota before we dive into Bo's big day. And if you need a Toyota, which, James, my car's in the shop right now.
It is? What do you got?
It is not a Toyota.
You need a new Johnson
I'll say
rod?
that. And I don't know what it is. I mean, the car company or the place where it's at right now just called me right now. So I'm waiting on an update. They just called me, left me a voicemail.
Did you take it to a dealership?
No, I did not.
Oh,
I
God,
took
thank
it. Yeah,
God.
they would have just raked me.
Yeah,
over the
terrible.
coals. Yeah,
Right.
could use some
I
other
knew you weren't
analogies
that-
too.
yeah.
No, I wouldn't do that. But I might be in the market for a new car, and our friends over at Toyota have all the cars that you could want. They've got a sports car, the Supra. I saw one in the Cherry Creek Mall a couple days ago, and from far away it was yellow. I was like, is that like a new Ferrari or something? Instead,
yeah.
it's a Supra I drive by. So if you want a sports car, they've got it. If you want a truck, they've got plenty of them. They've been in the truck game for decades now. If you want a hybrid, they have 16 different hybrid vehicles. And of course, if you want a 4Runner, they've got that as well. RAV4, Grand Highlander, so many different types of cars, including, like I said, those hybrids. So if you need a new car or want to check out a Toyota, visit one of your Front Range Toyota stores at a location near you. AutoNation Toyota in Arapahoe, Centennial, Corwin Toyota in Boulder, Groove Toyota in Littleton, Mountain States Toyota in Denver, Stevenson Toyota East in Aurora, and Stevenson Toyota West in Lakewood. Toyota, the official automotive partner of the NFL and the official vehicle of DNVR. And I also have to give a shout out to our friends over at Bet365. Where use that code DNVR365 and you're going to get one of two offers, either a bet and get offer. By placing a $5 bet, you're going to get $150 in bonus bets, or a first bet safety net offer by placing a bet up to $1,000. And if your qualifying bet loses, you will be matched that in bonus bets. And one of the things you can bet on, the Olympics. I started watching the Olympics for the first time this year, last night. No, first time this year.
Oh.
I love it, but just camp. It started the first day of camp. And so I've just been tied up with camp, got to watch some swimming last night. But did you see the rugby end in the women's?
Yeah. Are you teeing me up on something on purpose?
I'm teeing you up.
I'm very proud. I'm very proud. Obviously, it was cool because that's been a big part of the NFL discussion over the last day. I know at Ravens camp, they were showing the stiff arm to Derrick Henry and asking him what he thought of the stiff arm. But the woman who threw the pass, throwing it out there, and then we're run. The pass was thrown by a fellow Upper Marion area high school alumni outside of Philadelphia. So she threw the pass, pretty rad. You know, we don't have a whole lot of Olympians out of our high school.
I mean, we're talking like 12 seconds left.
Yeah.
America scores a touchdown?
It's a try, I think.
It's a try?
Yeah, it's not a touchdown.
Well, I think the reason it's called the touchdown in the NFL is because in rugby you have to touch down.
Touch it down, yeah.
Yeah, you touch it down. So I wasn't sure.
Well, where you touch it down is where you kick from.
Okay, right.
That determines. So you touch it down right in the middle between the uprights, then your kick is easy straight through the uprights.
Yeah, Will Lutz would appreciate that.
He'd love it.
Yeah.
I saw the crowd going crazy for Will Lutz today afterwards.
Yeah.
Really wild.
It's because we've got him on our podium graphic. So
Oh.
shout out to Will Lutz. We'll get to our podium graphic in just a second, but download the Bet365 app, scan the QR code on our screen, and use that code DNVR365 when you sign up. And of course, you must be 21 or older, physically located in Colorado. Please gamble responsibly. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem, once help, call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. All right, James, let's dive into Bo's big day. Or do you disagree with me saying it was a big day from Bo?
No.
Okay. Because someone on our panel might have a little disagreement with that. We'll get into that. But let's talk about Bo's day today because I thought this was arguably his best day of practice.
I would lose arguably. I would say this is his best day of practice I've seen. It's kind of fun being on here 2 days in a row with you because yesterday so much of our discussion was about Jarrett Stidham looking just a little bit more decisive going downfield, maybe pulling the trigger a little bit quicker. Bo taking that check down maybe a little bit sooner, more frequently, a little bit more hesitant in a sense.
Yep.
Today was a third down day, so you got to pull the trigger.
Yep.
Because it's third down, and we saw more downfield balls from Bo today than we have seen all of camp.
Maybe combined, honestly.
Yeah, probably, yeah. There was one ball that went, it was incomplete, but he took a shot.
Was that Bo's fault?
No. It was a weird, I thought the ball got hung up there for a minute, not sure how the route was, obviously.
Yeah, we don't know.
We're overanalyzing everything, and the coaching staff hasn't even, they don't want to say anything until they look at the film, and we're not even looking at anything. But I just look at everybody going, I think it's the farthest ball Bo has thrown as a Denver Bronco.
Yep.
Probably was.
Yep.
But it was a shot. It was great.
I loved it.
So my point is, and I said this to you before the show started, it's almost like Bo hopefully needed this third down day. It's forcing you to be decisive. It's forcing you to make a play. It's forcing you not to take the check down. You're in a situation where you have to get the first down. And what did he do? He threw some 50-50 balls to Josh Reynolds. We'll get to him. He had a monster day.
Yep.
But he was a little bit more decisive, pushing the ball downfield.
Yep.
Like, and those balls were completed. The sticks were moved.
Yep.
This was his best day. I saw you guys' scores. I didn't tell anybody my score.
Let's hit it.
No, I don't want to.
Oh, you don't want to?
No, I'll say I was going to go with a 7 as well for Bo Nix today.
Let's go.
I really do think it was a really good day. This is the best I've seen him. I was talking to some people in the organization on the side before camp, and I was like, first day was a little, and they're like, we expected it. Like, there's nothing shocking about the process that's going on with him. So I think people should pump the brakes a little bit on that. They're not worried. These things totally happen with every quarterback as a rookie getting into the process. I think like what you're trying to see is, okay, how quickly does he move on from that first day and that second day?
Right.
Man, this is, what, was it 3 days in pads now? Third day in pads?
Yep.
Look clearly better than he did in the first day. And that's awesome.
Yep, 100%. It is awesome. And one other thing, along with pushing the ball down the field, that I noticed today and was so happy to see, he looks a lot more comfortable in the pocket. And I wasn't sure if that was going to happen right away, if it was going to happen 1 week in like we are now, or there's a chance that it takes months in order for that to happen when there's actually a pass rush with pads coming on or coming at you with the pads on. And he looked comfortable today. There were a couple of passes where he not only stayed in the pocket, but stepped up in the pocket, manipulated the pocket well. And that is something that Bo Nix is so used to at college. He was a guy that could win from the pocket all the time. But in the first week of camp, he was getting a little nervous and a little jittery, and you could tell so many things were going on in his head to process that he wasn't really focused on just staying in the pocket and wasn't calm enough to do that, and today we started to see that. And so I think today was a great step, and really I think it could calm him down because it's third down, a lot of pressure on you, and then he went deep, and he took those shots, and for the most part, it worked out really well for him. And even with all of that going on, 0 interceptions. I don't believe there was any interception balls even. Like it,
I don't think so.
It's nothing. So really impressed with his ability to go down the field, which he hit Josh Reynolds a couple of times. And actually the very first play, he did scramble out of the pocket to avoid a sack. He's scrambling, running to the right side, almost a full sprint to get away from the defense that was coming down on him. And he finds Marvin Mims 15 yards downfield. Marvin catches the ball.
Marvin had a pretty good day.
He did, outside of this. He catches the ball, gets both feet inbounds, and is falling out of bounds, and Alex Singleton rips the ball out of him. I don't know if they would have called it a fumble, an incompletion, said he was out of bounds, but everything Bo did was good on that play.
Yeah, totally. You know, it's funny, a little pivot. I got hit up by my buddy Phil Perry, covers the Patriots and does a great job covering them, and he was like, hey, want to come on my podcast tomorrow? I want to talk about Drake May and what's happening in this first week. It has not been great. And Patriots fans are freaking out. And he's like, I want you to use maybe some of the times you've been in camps with other high picks and what they look like in the first week. And I was like, hey, I'll talk about Bo with you too, because I'm watching him in camp here and how it's going through his first week. But it got me thinking about some other things that happen with guys in other first weeks. Yeah. And I remember showing up in Houston and seeing C.J. Stroud, and we talked about him a little bit yesterday. But there was an aspect that kind of jarred my mind on the way to Broncos today, which Bo is doing pretty well with this. One of the things that they wanted C.J. to learn really quickly was making sure that when a bad play, a bad drive, something happens, that you bounce back and you compartmentalize the mistake, you fix it, and it doesn't impact later plays, later drives. I think that's a strength of Bo's.
Yeah.
That was something that they wanted CJ to work on quite a bit, partly because he had, let's just say it, so much success in his college career at The Ohio State University.
Thank you. I was curious where he went to school.
Yeah. If you don't fail a lot in college, the NFL is a rough situation. Look at Bryce Young's first season. There weren't a whole lot of bad moments at Alabama. And then you get a wake-up. I think Bo's path, I think, plays a part in these first couple of padded practices. Things didn't go well at Auburn.
Right.
Bounce back, goes to Oregon, has kind of a second college career, finds himself. Like, that's okay. It's all part of your growth process as a quarterback and as a young quarterback. It's the hardest position in all sports. Like, that path, to me, And some of the things you hear people like when I talk to Davis Webb about it and how his consistency is so good and his ability to learn from things so quickly is so keen. I think that path played a part, in my opinion, in these last couple of days. Because the first couple of days didn't go great for him.
Yep.
But it didn't seem like it bothered him.
No.
Didn't seem like it rattled him.
No, 100%.
Right? It didn't seem like it changed his demeanor at all.
No.
And I think that's a real big strength when you're looking at a player the caliber of, I'm not comparing these two players, the caliber of C.J. Stroud in his rookie season, what he's able to do. One of the best rookie seasons, if not the best rookie season we've ever seen from a quarterback. Like, those are some of the things they wanted to make sure that were instilled before his start, week 1.
Right.
Those are some strengths, I think, that already are in, the tool belt for Bo Nix.
Well, it's such a good point. And we saw this in one practice on Saturday when Bo goes out and throws a horrible, a terrible interception. He throws it right to Levi Wallace. Levi Wallace was there the entire time. And then what does he do? He bounces back by going out in a red zone period and having 3 touchdowns, no interceptions, and completely flips his day around. And after practice, we talked to him, and we were asking him, how do you bounce back from something like that? And he says, I just treat it like a touchdown. And what do you do after a touchdown? You move on to the next play. And that is something that I just remember Peyton Manning saying all the time. You have to have a short memory to play quarterback, not just for the bad, but for the good as well. And so I thought Bo was going to say something like that. You have to have short memory. But I kind of love that he said, like, you treat it like a touchdown, where he's not getting down on himself for that. Now, you'll go back and you'll probably be pissed off at yourself when you look at the tape. But in the moment, you can't be like that.
Yeah, there's a couple different demeanors that work in the NFL at the quarterback position. And there's some that just really don't. Bo's demeanor works. Like, that is one that leads a locker room. The stoic, never rattled, like, no matter how good things get, no matter how bad things get, they're right here.
Yep.
Always. Sometimes that'll annoy some guys in the locker room, like, hey, man, enjoy this win.
Right.
But you're the leader of the team. You're the leader of the locker room. You always got to find the negatives first and then work on the positives because you're always improving.
Right.
I mean, he didn't have a great year last year, but, like, probably the epitome of this mentality is Jalen Hurts. Like, I don't know if I've ever seen the guy smile.
Right.
Like, right? He's just like, touchdown drive.
Yeah.
Interception. Like,
it is actually very bizarre. It's a little unsettling.
It's almost a little bizarre. Like, it is. But he is so in the moment and focused on what he needs to accomplish. He's just never here. Bo kind of lives in that world too. And you can do it in your own way. I think that's a really good trait for a quarterback because a lot of times what happens is late in games, teams look to their quarterback.
Right.
I don't care what year you are in this league. They will look to you whether you're rattled, whether you think you're out of it, that matters.
Yep.
And if every time they look at you, it's the same, that matters. And I think Bo kind of has that personality. And I think evaluating this like group of practices, because I'm going to be in Shells tomorrow, so this was a good thing to talk about in its, through Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, right? Today's Wednesday?
Yep. I have no idea. Yeah.
This group
Day
of 3
7.
practices. Yeah. Like we get an opportunity to really look at first day of pads to today in pads. And you didn't see a different Bo Nix personality-wise, but you did see a different Bo Nix in performance today for sure. Yeah,
100%. And now I just want to continue to see him continue to grow on this. And if he does, he will be the week 1 starter. So I love that. Also, this shouldn't be a surprise. Bo Nix started a career record 61 games in college. Like you said, he dealt with adversity going to Auburn. Remember, his dad was a star there. He was supposed to be the next guy. And then he struggles enough where he has to leave. That has to be, I imagine that would knock so many people out of the game and people would just say, no, I'm done with this. Instead, he goes to Oregon, totally rebuilds, and really creates this new person for him out there in terms of a football player. He's married, 24 years old, so the maturity is on his side, and it's showing up on the football field. And we heard from Sean after practice talking about Bo, and we know how Sean wants to be. We heard it yesterday. He doesn't want to tell us anything about the quarterback competition, how it's going. He doesn't want to dive into the nitty-gritty. He doesn't want to say too many good things about Bo or really just Bo, because he doesn't want it to seem like, oh, well, he's named him a starter. He just hasn't told us yet. But he did give a little bit of encouragement to Bo after practice today. Let's hear it.
Yes, I was just asked 2 seconds ago. And look, I thought overall, I'm sure there's going to be some plays we look at that it was mostly third down. A lot of the work was third down, but yeah, we'll see the tape and evaluate it. But I thought overall pretty well. there are plays where you're going to look at and correct, and then there's others where you're going to say, hey. But I do have to watch the film because I'm looking at so much, and he ran with the ones, and I like his progress.
The very end. I like his progress.
That's what we're talking about here.
Yeah.
I don't like how people look at his move out of Auburn, like couldn't cut it in the SEC, had to go somewhere else. It's all part of a player's growth, all part of a player's process. Why can't he be a better player at Oregon than he was at Auburn?
Right.
He should be.
Yeah.
Like, it's all part of the growth process. I mean, Mahomes is a better player now than he was actually when he won MVP, which is wild. But he is. And so, like, all of these guys, you should be getting better. It's on the head coach, like we talked about yesterday, that's getting paid what Sean's getting paid, to have this progress happen as quickly as possible.
Yep.
And speed it up. That's why he's getting paid what he's getting paid. He's a brilliant offensive mind. And if Bo's picking this stuff up, keep giving it to him.
100%.
Keep feeding him. Information. I know some people are worried about the reps. Give him as much information as he can handle. And it looks like they're doing that for him.
Yep, it does. And since Sean said it, we can say it. He was running with the ones today.
He was.
So, like you said, James, 2 out of the 3 days in pads has been Bo. Now, I think Sean did something in practice today with Zach to maybe say, like, don't count him completely out here. But my guess, no pads tomorrow. They're going to be in shells. But my guess is we say Stidham and then Bo. And Stidham and Bo. And my guess is this is going to be down to that 2-man competition like we talked a lot about yesterday. But today kind of just reaffirmed that.
I think so. Man, there's some talent there, but there was a lot of running around Zach Wilson today.
Yeah, there was. So should we talk about his day really quick?
I guess.
Give out our scores.
There's a lot of running around.
So James gave Bo a 7. I gave Bo a 7. Henry gave Bo a 6.25. He's getting into the nitty gritty.
2.5.
With Zach Wilson, I went a 3.5. Henry went a 4.5. James, what are you going with?
I'll probably go with a 3.75 with repeating 5.
Okay,
so
yeah,
you can round that up if you want.
No, we got to be straight on the score. So it's the bar over the 5.
Well,
which means
the bar over
repeating.
the 5. Repeating, exactly. I knew you were a math guy. You were a mathlete in high school?
I did for a little bit and dropped out immediately because everyone else was way smarter than I was. Yeah.
That's okay.
Yeah, I was like the substitute for one time, and then I was like, no.
Get me out of here.
Yeah.
There's just a lot of off schedule. I know things break down. I know you're rolling with the threes a lot of the time, but there's a lot of running around going on. So this is a get back on your feet project for Zach Wilson. He needs reps to do that. But you can't substitute reps that need to go to what we're talking about, which is getting Bo's learning curve as fast as possible going. And that's why I think we're going to start seeing the shift a little bit.
So you're 100% right about him needing reps in order to have that year of rehab. Can those reps be as as the scout team quarterback on the practice squad? Do those count as valuable reps? You
want to know where everybody was going like this in San Francisco? Well, actually, Santa Clara, because they don't do anything in San Francisco.
That's true.
They're like an eternity from I fly into San Jose when I do the Niners.
That is pathetic.
I don't even see the city of San Francisco because San Jose is right there next to Santa Clara. But
the San Jose 49ers.
But everybody was looking around. I remember talking to guys on their roster Super Bowl week. They're like, this Brock Purdy dude's for real. And that's when he was running scout team. Like, they're reps. You can get better. You're trying to beat a first-team defense.
Yeah.
Like, those reps can be very valuable. Now, you're not running your team's offense, so you got to put in a little bit more time on working on your team's offense,
right?
Because you're running somebody else's offense. But those are great reps for footwork, for throwing with accuracy, just a variety of things, getting yourself back on your feet. That's where Brock Purdy was turning heads for the first time when he was sitting there on the scout team.
Well, then to me, James, that's where Zach Wilson gets his reps.
So those
this
are going to
year.
be reps. Yeah,
as
of course.
Probably practice squad quarterback that is the scout team quarterback, and then Sean can work with him and Davis Webb can work with him as much as they want behind the scenes throughout the season. But right now, you're right. Right now is Bo Nix.
Yeah, and I just thought of this. Like, this isn't a bad idea. Like, I don't know if a whole lot of teams do this, but some do. Like, I wouldn't mind having Stiddy right if Bo Nix is the starter, having Jarrett Stidham right there behind the line of scrimmage, behind the quarterback, seeing everything the quarterback would see, and being an extra set of eyes for Bo Nix on every practice rep, about make sure you go here, make sure you're here. Stidham may not need the reps, honestly.
Right.
And you're sitting there helping your rookie quarterback with everything, and Zach Wilson's taking every single scout team rep.
Yep.
Because honestly, with the skill set, he can replicate a lot of quarterbacks in this league. Because you got to remember, scout team, it's not about like completing the ball. Like, we need you to run like Mahomes this week. We need you to throw all the way across your body like Josh Allen can do, because that's what we got to get our defense ready to do.
Yep.
Zach can actually do all of those
things. He can. Yes, he can.
He's got a howitzer. Like, he can throw it all the way across the field, across his body. So that might give a lot of guys good looks. And I think Stidham standing next to Bo Nix might not be the worst thing in the world, helping the rookie if he is the starter.
100%. And we know that Stidham would be up for that task but he's competing right now, and like you said, his job is to push Bo, make it so difficult for the Broncos to name Bo Nix the starting quarterback, because Stidham pushes him. But then once that happens, I imagine that's going to happen at some point this year, whether it's week 1 or not. Stidham, I think, is going to be a great veteran mentor, especially he's been in the system a year longer than Bo, knows it. We can see it on the field. So let's get into Bo's day. But the reason that I was a little low on Zach today, James, you mentioned it, too much running around and too many sacks.
Way too many sacks. And that's a couple days in a row here.
Exactly. We see it day in, day out. What did the one thing at the owners' meeting, Sean Payton was asked this year, how do you score more points? It was as simple as that. Sean, the number one thing Sean said, take fewer sacks. So sacks are that important to Sean, just like they are probably every coach.
Do you think Russ's sacks bothered Sean a little bit last year?
Oh, no, not at all. Of course, running into defensive players, I can't imagine that bothered him. And so that's just why sacks are a big deal to Sean, and Zach just has too many of them. But let's dive into Jarrett Stidham after I give a shout-out to our friends over at Volo Sports. James, you mentioned many times actually recently how you just love being outside. You love
really
doing
like
things.
the outdoors.
Yeah, and if it comes down to like being in a weight room or playing a sport, I'd rather play a sport outside.
Yeah.
And over at Volo, that's exactly what you get to do. You get to play every single type of sport. Plus, they're expanding. They have any hobbies that you have, they've got it over at Volo Sports, and they are giving our listeners a discount it's only going to cost you $10 a month for your first 3 months. That's half off by using the code DNVR3. It's summertime right now, but fall might be like the perfect time to play sports. And there's that little crisp in the air, so you can be playing sports. But of course, they've got indoor sports as well: basketball, volleyball, football. They've got it.
What's your favorite sport?
My favorite sport to play will be flag football. Now, I don't find that much outside of Volo. I love basketball. Pick up basketball. Also like tennis. Got back into it. Took a couple years off. Got back into it this year. I also have a pickleball racket.
Yep.
I've only played it once, though. But
so
I do like
are
it.
you one of those rare breeds that like tennis and pickleball?
I do
Because
like
most
them
of the
both.
tennis community is like,
Yeah.
GD pickleballers
and because
stealing our courts that we weren't using at all in the first place.
But now we want to use them.
Now we want them
because
back.
they're full. Yeah, exactly. Because I'm not really a big tennis player. Yeah, I do both.
Okay.
Are you a pickleballer?
I can pickleball, yeah.
Doubles?
I play singles.
Oh.
I have no backhand, so I use my left hand.
You just switch the paddle over?
I just switch and
Wow.
forehand lefty.
That's brilliant.
It's probably not the way you should play, but it's
I don't know. I mean, it double your reach, right?
I think so.
Yeah.
Stretches the reach a little bit.
That's impressive. So if you want to maybe take on James in pickleball, use that code DNVR3 over at Volo Sports to get your first 3 months at only $10 a month. Also, shout out to Game Time. Speaking of deals, use the code DNVR over at Game Time, and you are going to get $20 off your first purchase. Whether you want to go to a Rockies game this weekend, $20 off. That will get you into a Rockies game for free. Might actually get you some pretty good seats right now as well. Or you want to go to Broncos, Steelers, the first home game. Use that code DNVR Broncos. Preseason games coming up. They've got 2 home preseason games. You want to go see Bo maybe make his first appearance in Denver? That would be in that first preseason game, which is just 2 weeks away.
Wow.
Yeah, just over 2 weeks away against the Packers. You get to see Jordan Love, the highest paid quarterback in the NFL.
You could say sitting a quarterback has its benefits.
Oh, there you go. Now, is Jarrett Stidham going to be the starter for 3 years while Bo sits?
I'm just saying.
Yeah, maybe not. Probably not.
It is a fun thing to play with because there are 2 schools of thought from pretty respectable offensive minds in this league that believe playing them right away or sitting them is a must. Matt LaFleur believes you should sit somebody all the time.
But, I mean, you look at...
Gary Kubiak believes you should always sit rookie quarterbacks.
And then Peyton thinks you should play.
Yeah, he just
Peyton
wants his record broken.
Yeah.
He wants his rookie interception record to go down. So that's why he wants every rookie to play. But no, then I think you need to have the mental toughness. That's the number one thing that every coach talks about. Matt LaFleur will talk to you about this at length about he doesn't believe, and we'll see what happens with Zach Wilson. He does not believe if your confidence gets shattered. I mean, he believes if your confidence gets shattered as a rookie quarterback, there's a chance it never comes back. That's the mental side of playing
David
rookie.
Carr?
There's a mental, former coworker.
Yeah.
Good dude. The mental aspect of what can happen in your rookie year is very heavily considered in sitting quarterbacks by that group. The other group thinks if you're mentally tough enough to do it, all the mistakes in the world don't matter. Right. That's why we were talking about the emphasis on what Houston wanted with Stroud starting week 1, and it's something that maybe Bo does have, and they should keep looking at, going, he does have the mental fortitude of this. He's been through a lot. He's played 61 college games. Yeah. He's had his ups and downs. Yeah. It's not going to wreck him if things go terrible.
Right.
Then you do play him right away. Right. I think the mental aspects of how you could hurt your rookie quarterback are the main reasons why you don't play him. Right. If you think he can handle it, let him go out there and get the reps.
And the good news is he's got that good offensive line.
He's got a good line, man.
So use that code DNVR over at Game Time. And, of course, they've got the Game Time guarantee. Download the Game Time app and use that code DNVR. Those are the best ad reads. It actually turns into a conversation. You can't skip it. Oh, geez, James, if you look at the Toyota chat, it's going to be...
I look at it a lot.
It's gonna be tough. It's gonna hurt your heart sometimes, man. You got that heart of steel?
Well, I wouldn't say heart of steel. Some things cut. but
not the Toyota chat.
I've gotten some pretty bad stuff on Twitter.
Oh, yeah. I bet. How often do you get people in your DMs, not saying bad stuff, but reaching out and asking you for things? Like one of our coworkers got a DM from a Broncos fan and said, hey, I'm a big fan of Bo Nix. Always wanted to meet him. Can you set me up with a FaceTime with him? And it's like, what?
That's awesome.
I got one last night. I got to find it really quick because I don't want to mess it up. It said, good. I'm not going to put him on blast who it was. It's Baron Browning and says, if you ever meet Baron Browning, can you tell him to add me on Instagram?
No, that's awesome.
Do you get those ever?
No.
Where it's like more of a favor, but just like a wild request?
Yeah, those come. I had a buddy do that once. He was like, hey, man, Patriots are coming several years ago. With Brady. Patriots are coming to town. He's from New England. He lives here. I'm not looking for like anything crazy lower bowl, but like maybe like I got some family coming, like nothing nuts, but like 10 to 12 tickets be cool. Upper bowl would be fine.
You're like, yeah, it would be fine.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, definitely that's going to happen.
Those are the ones where you just want to leave it on red and be like,
no.
What?
Yeah, I want him to see that I read that. Right, just never responded back. Yeah.
Oh, my goodness, that is funny. Okay, so let's get into Jarrett Stidham.
Okay.
Where would you put his score for today, James?
I think those are accurate. I'll go 5.25.
Split the difference. Splitting the difference right there. 5.25.
I think Jarrett was average today.
Yep. I totally agree.
He was right down the pike of that. I think actually like maybe my score might be a little low on Bo because like I kind of don't remember a whole lot of what Jarrett did today.
Yeah.
Because Bo kind of flashed like that.
100%.
And so it kind of like skewed my memory in a sense because I thought Bo played really, really well today.
Yeah. I mean, steady Stidham. And when you're steady as a quarterback, a lot of coaches will take that as their starting quarterback. Every coach will take that as their backup quarterback. But when you're steady, you're probably not making the big plays. You're also not making the abysmal plays. And that's just, once again, what Jarrett Stidham did. So he's proving to be a great guy to have in the room. He's proving to be a great guy that if Sean wants to go with a safe option week 1 or at any point in the season, Stidham is that. And we saw Jarrett Stidham have some flashes in the 2 games he played last year, also some struggles. He does look way improved from the 2 games that we saw him, which shouldn't be a surprise, but he does look way better. And I will say, too, Jarrett Stidham was probably the worst quarterback in training camp that the Broncos had last year. I thought DiNucci outplayed him. Now, it was not like DiNucci was going to take his backup job. Russ outplayed him, and Russ was just average throughout camp. Jarrett Stidham has been leaps and bounds better this camp than last. And I think it shows what a second year in Sean Payton's offense does.
Yeah, it's true because like I remember watching a lot of camp. I traveled a bunch, but I watched a lot of days here. And I remember talking to people and being like, is anybody else like not seeing a whole lot?
Yeah.
Like a whole lot of flashes?
Yeah.
A whole lot of like, ooh, yeah, I like that. Like that didn't happen a bunch last year. Even like I think everybody was willing themselves to think that was going to happen with Russ.
No.
But it wasn't really happening a whole bunch. I've been looking forward to some of those plays. I think we've seen some of them in the run game the last couple of days.
Yeah.
I think this might be an interesting backfield. I really do. Like, Jaleel McLaughlin had a good day today.
Yep.
I thought he had a really good day today. And then what we've seen from the rookie and Audric Estime and the way Javonte has looked, like 2 bruisers,
Yep.
and a speedster. Like,
Yep.
it might be an interesting backfield that you can kind of keep rotating a little bit. And, I think the run game has had some pop plays for sure.
Big time.
We've had some really good defensive plays, obviously, up front. I wrote one down that I really, really liked. Who was it? Jaquan McMillan blew up a play in the backfield.
Oh, my goodness.
Man, that was like he read it perfectly from where he was coming off the edge, kind of creeping up to the line and read it perfectly and blew it up, 4 yards behind the line of scrimmage, you think? Yeah. So, like, we've seen some flashes from this attacking defense that really wants to just get downfield. But, yeah, I think I'm looking for some pop plays.
Yeah.
I think the run game's gotten them, and today we actually saw it a little bit in the passing game, specifically. Like, Sean went with big receivers.
Yep.
He loves big receivers.
Yep.
We saw the benefit of that today, right?
Yep.
Like, Josh Reynolds going up and getting some balls. Court went up and got a ball or two.
Yep.
Like, it's going to help a quarterback out quite a bit.
It even gave Marvin, the small guy,
he went up and got
the
one.
confidence to go up and
He
get
went up
one.
and got one.
And one of those big guys, James, that stole the day today was Josh Reynolds. Number 11. You've got to get to know Josh Reynolds because this guy, I think, might be the Broncos' not X factor, but he's going to be like the Tim Patrick before Tim got hurt in terms of like, oh, you need a ball to be caught. You need a safety net. You need a guy that's always open. Josh Reynolds is going to be that guy. And look, people remember Josh Reynolds for dropping 2 key passes in the NFC Championship game because that was such a massive game. And he made 2 mistakes there. He is a guy that does not drop the ball outside of that. He is very good hands and a really good route runner. Always open. We saw Bo find him in the middle of the field today for 15 yards. We saw him make a catch over Jaquan McMillan on the sideline. Bo steps up, finds him. There's no room there. Jaquan's in great coverage. He throws it just above, Jaquan's 5'8" or something.
Yeah,
so he's
on the
shorter.
smaller side.
And Josh is 6'3" and light, so he can jump really high. He catches it over Jaquan. And then we saw another one from Zach Wilson, which was the catch of the day, the play of the day, at least on the offensive side of the ball, where Levi Wallace is in smothering coverage on Josh Reynolds down the left side. Zach Wilson just throws a 50-50 ball up. This should have been picked. It should have been deflected at least. And Josh goes over him, mosses him for the catch, gets his feet inbounds. Best play of the day, and it was Josh Reynolds.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and Sean mentioned it after practice, and it's true because this is like a quarterback's favorite thing is the catch radius. His catch radius is through the roof.
Yeah.
Like a lot of times you have a catch radius, and then you have a radius outside of that if you're a special player. I remember Bill Belichick telling me this once where he was like, what makes DeAndre Hopkins so good as an NFL player, he's only like 6'1", but he's like his catch radius is like he's 6'5".
Oh, I
like
for sure just would have thought he was 6'5".
Yeah, he's like his radius is like another 1.5 in every direction more than it should be for somebody his build.
Yep.
And he's like, do you have any idea what that does for broken down plays, plays that are off script, quarterback scrambling, have to get the ball out of your hands. Like his radius is insane, especially when you're playing balls by the sideline too, which a lot of these balls by Josh Reynolds today were by the sideline.
Yep.
So the radius is a big thing, and that's a big thing Sean likes about Josh Reynolds a lot.
Yeah, well, and you touched a lot on some of the things Sean said. Let's hear from Sean because he actually talked about Josh Reynolds a couple of times. Here's what Sean had to say.
Yeah, I mean, I think, look, the guy that jumped out was Josh Reynolds. I mean, shoot, he had 3 or 4 catches that were something else. It was real good. He's a tough player. He's got range. you saw today there were a number of 50-50 balls that he ended up with, and we had a good, clear vision for him, and I'm glad we have him.
So why I'm saying you can't sleep on him. The coach trusts him. The coaches love him. He's a veteran guy that you can count on, and that is so valuable. And that's why losing Tim Patrick in back-to-back years was such a big blow, he was that receiver that you could absolutely count on third down. Oh, Tim's definitely on the field, and Tim's probably the number one look. I could see Josh Reynolds developing into that guy, and I think quarterbacks are going to find that in him as well and trust him even more. And we heard Sean say he's an outside in guy, meaning he can play all over the field, but he's going to primarily be on the outside. So then you look, who are your starting receivers? Obviously, Court. It might be Josh Reynolds as the second outside receiver, then maybe Marvin Mims on the inside, but you might be seeing Josh Reynolds truly be the Broncos' number 2 receiver.
And he keeps having days like he had today.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think it's a question. I think he'll be the number 2 guy. I think they're trying. I mean, Tim's still working his way back. You don't miss 2 full seasons, really, and just like get back out there and you're just the same old guy. I think he's extremely valuable. I've talked to so many players about what he means to that room, what he means to the entire locker room, the type of worker he is, how tough he is, how he holds other players accountable. You need leaders that are going to get in other guys' faces. That's Tim Patrick. Like he's a valuable person on this roster if he can on the field get back to what we've seen before both of these injuries. Right now, it looks like it is Josh Reynolds. Like that, that is where it's looking. I think they're going to use a lot of different formations, personally. I mean, where they stand at the tight end spot. We know Sean likes Lucas Kroll. We know Sean likes Greg Dulcich, who we're seeing on the field.
Yes.
And obviously, Adam Troutman has a role, more of a blocking role. But I think you're going to be able to find yourself in a couple of different formations, especially when you have a tight end like Dulcich that they want to get in space. Like, he's a space player. They don't want him lined up tight all the time.
Right.
That may be some slot plays go to him as opposed to a receiver.
Man, and I just loved what Sean Payton had to say about Greg Dulcich. Don't make a square peg fit in a round hole. And that's what so many coaches do in the NFL. And from like a big picture, I understand it. Like, no, Greg Dulcich has to learn how to be a blocker, and he needs to be able to block so he can be on the field until he's on the field. And Sean's like, yeah, he's not that good of a blocker. There are some things he can do in the run game, and we're only going to ask him to do those things. And it's just like, that's easy. 1 + 1 = 2 here. That they're using simplicity with Greg Dulcich, and I love that because if Greg Dulcich had to be a good blocker for him to get on the field, well, you know what? He's probably not going to be on the field much at all. But Sean's not saying that. He's saying we're going to use Greg in the ways that we know, and that is a lot of spread out. He might be your true slot guy this season, and I love that.
Yeah, I mean, there's a fine line in that. I think coaches sometimes get themselves going down a path of, well, this is the way we do it. And you have to do it the way I do it. No, you should mold to your players. I do think sometimes that gets stuck. Sean's right in that aspect. You shouldn't ask Greg Dulcich to do things that he's not great at. But also, let's remember, you are giving tells. He's on the field. He's probably not blocking.
Or it's a backside run or something.
Exactly. There's a handful of schemes that Sean mentioned it today. You can run in the run game where he's out there. It's on the player to go, this is what I'm great at.
Right.
Keep setting me up to succeed. I'm going to be over here still working on my blocking so I can be on the field more.
Right.
And I don't limit us in terms of the packages we can run. Like, Travis Kelce's a receiving tight end. He's worked his butt off on becoming an adequate blocker, so Andy Reid doesn't have to limit certain things, and they can have more looks and more plays out of the same look, and that's what Sean wants.
Right.
But he is completely fine in his career. You've noticed it with Jimmy Graham and other guys. Like, I'm fine having the athletic tight end. The league is fine having athletic tight ends right now that are not big on the blocking side of things. It's just on the player to go, well, I appreciate all of this. Let me keep getting better on the blocking side so I can help us out as an offense.
Yeah.
That comes in time, too, with a player.
Greg right now is like, I just need to focus on learning how to run.
Yeah,
I just want to run right now.
I just want to run right. I want to walk correctly. That's all I want to do.
And so far, so good. He was pressed many times today. We talked to him at the podium after practice today, and he was pressed many times just on where he's at in his return. And credit to him, he didn't give anything away. He wouldn't say that he's 100%. He wouldn't say that there's any limitations there. He just said he's feeling good. And I got to say, I'm shocked in the first week that he has not missed a day. In terms of like even a rehab day, I think that shows where he's at now. I wouldn't be surprised if that comes tomorrow.
Can't you just say my hamstring feels good? I think I'm 100%. Like, I think I would know if my hamstring's not 100%.
Yeah, I think he's just, it might be a little superstition. I don't know.
Yeah.
Because he was avoiding it like the plague, though, about saying like it's 100%. Yeah.
They taught him how to walk again.
Yeah, they did. I mean, he had to learn how to like change his stride.
Yeah.
That's wild. And the new stride's looking good, though. It's looking fast out there.
Got them legs out.
Yes, he does.
And have the short shorts the last couple of days because they've been in pads, but they'll be back tomorrow.
Yep. Okay, let's. We have one more clip to play, and it was a funny answer from DJ Jones, who, man, James, you mentioned this attacking defense, which we'll get into right after we talk about or hear from DJ. DJ was asked, you're entering year 8 of your NFL career. Do you have to take care of your body differently now because you're a bit older than earlier in your career? And here's the answer he had to say.
In year 8, physically, are there different things you have to do to kind of prepare your body now than you did when you were younger?
Oh, yeah. And if anybody tells you no, they're lying. or they're a kicker. You gotta hone in on the details as far as your body goes. If you have any surgeries or anything, you gotta take care of things before you come out here.
And he has a Capri Sun.
Is that a Capri Sun?
It's a Capri Sun.
I was about to say, we should be talking about did the man walk to the podium with a Capri Sun.
Yep.
Oh,
and then he dropped
amazing.
it midway through the press conference on the floor, but because it's a Capri Sun, it didn't leak.
No
He just picked
spillage.
it back up and just started drinking it again.
At Costco, the deal on Capri Suns is through the roof.
Wow.
Like the 3 giant boxes strapped together and get them in a full, oh my God.
Now, what's the deal at Walmart? Because that's maybe where the Broncos are getting them
Sam's
from.
Club then, sorry.
Oh, Sam's
If
Club.
you go over
Yep.
to Sam's Club, I bet you the deal's probably even better
There you go.
than Costco's.
You're a good company, man, even though you don't work for them.
I don't work for them. That says it on my credential,
It does, yeah, DenverBroncos.com.
Doing that show with TD.
Wait, so because you have a DenverBroncos.com credential, do you get food there?
I just thought about that now.
Yeah.
I should get some food.
You should. Because I saw your friend get some food today.
Oh, Albert
they
got
treat
food
the
today.
national media a little differently out there.
It used to be the thing, man.
They brought the whole menu.
My man Breer was out there today. Had a great time catching up with him. He had been to a bunch of camps, so I was picking his brain on some stuff. And he gets offered a whole menu out there.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
We get water though.
Yeah.
We get water.
Get a lot of water.
Yeah, a lot of water.
Yeah.
Okay, so James, this defense, you mentioned it earlier, but we're going to continue to hear the word attacking. Mm-hmm. It's an attacking defense, an attacking defense, an attacking defense. What's that mean?
Well, they're trying to get downhill. There's a lot of defenses that up front, they want you to hold the point of attack. Like, ask Draymond Jones how much he enjoyed playing in Vic Fangio's defense, where it was his job to hold it, make sure he keeps contained, make sure he holds the line, and you don't go downfield. This team wants to get downfield. There's pluses and minuses to both ways you do it, but this is going to be the system that they're going to use because I think there are some questions about the type of edge pressure that they can create. I think they're going to have to create it in a variety of ways. You never like to send extra guys, but I think they're going to have to.
Right.
If you can get home with 4, obviously that's phenomenal if you can do that. But I think they're going to have to do some different things. I think this defensive front, though, can play faster and attack better, that a lot of them understand what their assignments are now. They understand what they're doing. Like, a lot of the issues in the run game, and DJ said that today, which was, we're not going to win anything and do anything here if we can't stop the run.
Yep.
A lot of the issues, as I talked to people in the building throughout this offseason, was they were just it's not really full knowledge of what you're getting asked to do. You're learning it on the fly as the season goes along. And a lot of missed assignments one game against a team like Miami, that's what ends up happening in that game.
Yeah.
But if you look at the second half of the season, when this defense started to really kind of figure out what VJ wanted them to do, they're a much better defense. Like, they were a decent defense. And now in year 2, it's like, hey, okay, you know your assignment needs to do. You know you need to be gap sound, but I want you to get downfield.
Right.
Like, they have the ability to do that. They have some players that can do that up front. I think Zach Allen's had a really, really good camp so far.
Yep. Monster.
And it's funny, he knows the system pretty well. I mean, played for VJ in Arizona.
Yep.
So he knows it. And you've seen him get even better. It was interesting. I think Sean talked about him the other day, right? And he was like, I still think there's like a lot of room for growth.
Yeah.
Which I thought was very interesting from a veteran player like that. But I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah, and really quick on that, he said that Zach played well last year, but the depth that they added around him on the defensive line is going to make him allow him to make big plays this year.
Yeah, and I think when you have somebody like, Jonathan Franklin Myers in the middle of the field that just, I don't want to jinx him, but he just doesn't make mistakes.
Yeah.
Like he really doesn't. He plays so sound that when he's not going to get his body pushed one side or the other, when he knows where he has to be, he knows that he's got to work this side, or he's got to work this side, or he's got to where he needs to be. Everybody else plays off of that. Those type of players in the middle. A lot of defenses work from the inside out, and if you're dominant here and it stretches out through the outside, like these guys can play better because they're not worried about somebody missing assignment in the middle, which is what gashes you like crazy.
Yep.
You could play better from Allen's spot or the edge guys. Like I'm hearing great things about Baron Browning, by the way.
What are you hearing?
There's a lot of buzz about Baron Browning, guys.
Number 5?
A lot of buzz. I like that 5 out there.
Yeah. Is it about his Ohio State career or is it about his Broncos career?
Ohio State career and Broncos career were pretty similar. They didn't know where to put him because he was such a freak athlete.
That's true.
So just put him inside, put him outside, whatever. And now they know where they want to put him. He gained like 8 pounds of muscle this offseason and still has just unbelievable freakish bend on the outside. These guys on the outside need to play well. Like they really do. I think they're going to rotate a lot of guys. There's some buzz about the rookie. I think like you need Benito has flashes at times.
Yeah.
I think you need to find something. VJ needs to find some combination to continue to keep pressure from the outside because I think the inside has gotten a lot better.
Yeah, 100%. Now, one of the things that it might hurt this attacking defense is it might hurt the inside linebackers tackle number. In fact, DJ Jones pointed out and said, Alex Singleton's probably not going to get 180 tackles this year because the defensive linemen are going to be making more tackles.
That's a nice way to put it.
Now, what's the downside of this attacking defense? Is it being more aggressive that if you do mess up, then it's bigger holes, then it's opportunity for bigger plays for the offense?
Wait, say that again?
What's the downside of the attacking defense since the Broncos are really going
you
that
get
direction?
gashed.
Yep.
Like you get burned, like you get too aggressive, and then you find out a team lets you get aggressive a little bit more. Oh, damn, then you just got beat by a screen over the top, like just a little dump over the tight end spot, and all of a sudden you're downfield too much.
Right.
You know what I mean? That's why some of these like kind of hold the point of attack is you're trying to see what's what, and you're not allowing a lane to open up. Sometimes when you get too aggressive downfield, lanes open up.
Right.
You know, and you don't want that at all. So I do like the thought process with the way this team is built that you should probably have some of those interior guys attacking.
Right. Yep, I do too. And DJ said we're going to be living in the backfield. There's going to be a lot of guys in the backfield. So I really like that. And this is where we're going to see Zach Allen, I think, take a big step, is when he gets the ability to not just hold the gap, but he gets the ability to go make a play. And we've seen him make plenty of plays here. And James, I think that's going to do it unless you have any final thoughts on your way out.
Final thoughts? No, I don't think so. It was a good day today. I liked today's practice.
Me too.
What I really liked, this is my final thought. I really loved the one-on-one drill between the DBs and corners today. I mean, DBs and corners, DBs and wide receivers today. Pat Surtain still very, very good.
Yep.
Very good.
Yep.
They're really handsy, aggressive corners today in those one-on-one drills. I know you're told to do it in one-on-one. I mean, you're not going to get flagged. But, try to be aggressive. Try to be in his hip pocket. There's a lot of competition back there.
Yeah.
To find that other corner. Riley Moss got a lot of attention today. He had a pretty good day. But watching those battles between a big physical group of receivers that the Broncos have, it's fun to watch the DBs try to get physical with them, too. I think it's a good warm-up for the season.
100%. And you mentioned yesterday, I think Courtland beat Pat Surtain on a one-on-one. One-on-ones mean really nothing. But it was like,
it's tough for the corner, man.
It's very tough on the corner. Bo hit Sutton deep. Very first play of one-on-ones today. It was Courtland against Pat, and Pat made a beautiful diving PBU. He was not getting the ball. And then the other one-on-one I saw with Pat, he broke it up as well. So he's like, yeah, you get yesterday, not today.
Those are the only balls he's getting.
Yeah, exactly. And we got 2 quick questions before we get out of here. Malhai Sign says, when should we expect a contract extension for Pat Surtain and Garrett Bowles?
I would expect one from Pat, obviously. I mean, sometimes these things happen in season, but maybe after the season.
Okay.
And it could be monstrous. It should be.
I'm going 5 years, 125.
125?
25 a year easily resets the corner market.
He'll probably reset the corner market for sure. I don't know if Garrett's getting another deal. That might be tough.
First round pick on a tackle next year then?
You should pick a tackle every draft.
Oh, well, they haven't done it since Garrett Bowles.
Yeah, I know, but you should pick them like throughout the draft, every draft, in my opinion.
I totally
Like,
agree.
You should always be picking tackles.
Yep.
I don't know. I mean, he's been durable. I will say this. The career's obviously been up and down, but we talked about, and it's a great way to finish, with Bo Nix and the growth that we're seeing. I think Garrett's had a boatload of growth through his career in Denver as a tackle. I don't know. That one might be a little bit more challenging because you're paying a lot of guys on that line.
It's true.
You can't pay everybody on your line. I mean, you got a monster deal in McGlinchey, a monster deal in Quinn Miners. You paid Ben Powers.
Yep.
Like, it's hard to really get a lot of deals in that group up there. But you're not paying any big wide receiver money really on this team.
Is it Taylor Decker with the Lions who just got 3 years, $60 million?
Yeah. Another Buckeye, but yeah.
Maybe keep your eyes on that one for Garrett, maybe.
Okay.
But you're right. You are paying a lot of guys. It's a really
Paying a
good
lot
point.
of guys.
And final one coming in from the blind
You aren't paying the
swordsman.
quarterback, though.
You are not. You hope to be paying the quarterback, though.
No, right now you're not paying the quarterback for the next 4 years.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is in 4 years, you want to pay a quarterback.
Well, yes, you want to pay a quarterback.
But if right now, you're right. This is the perfect time to pay other
That's my point.
players.
I thought we were talking about Garrett's contract.
They are still paying a quarterback.
Well, that's true. Yeah, they're paying Russ.
That's true. Well, that's done after this year, right? They took. Well, no.
Most of 2025.
Most of it's done after this year. The bigger chunk is this year.
right.
Smaller chunks next
Still
year.
35 next year. The blind swordsman rounds us out and says, if Bo does not start week 1, I'm not going to be happy. Develop the dude on the field, not in practice.
Yeah, it goes back to kind of what we were saying. I think and this is one of the things I think they're finding out. I use Stroud as a perfect example because I was told that was a big thing that they wanted to make sure was set in stone mentally for him before they announced him. They really wanted it done before they announced him as the starter. If that's something they're for sure with Bo, that like mentally the struggles of this season are not going to do what Matt LaFleur believes can happen, is you're wrecked mentally as a quarterback by playing your rookie year, and you may never come back from it. Don't play him.
No.
If you think you can mentally handle it, I think I think you go out there and you play him. I mean, it's the hardest thing to debate. Really, it really is. Like Jordan Love said it. Like I don't know if I'd be this player if I played right away.
Right.
I don't know if that's the type of player I'd be.
Yeah.
Like I got to he knew by the time he was put out there, he knew the offense like the back of his hand. Imagine that advantage when you're getting your first NFL action on the field.
Yeah.
You've been 3 years in the system.
Yeah.
And you know it inside and out.
Such a good point. Instead of your head just spinning.
Yeah, instead of your head spinning mentally, you just go there, I know where this is. You just got to play.
Yeah.
Like that's one of the biggest parts. Like you know the offense so much better.
Yeah.
But there is a point to going out and playing. I mean, I get both sides. And I think like you can't categorize every player into this is what we need to do. You either sit them. I think each one is an individual study in itself.
And that's why you're saying they're paying Sean Payton the big bucks.
Why he's getting the big bucks?
Because he has to be the one to make these decisions on Bo Nix and develop him properly. That's going to do it for us today. We'll be back after the Broncos' 8th practice of training camp tomorrow. James, whether you start or play right away, you're going to be a star. So we appreciate you joining us. There you go. You respond to Strez there. We'll see you tomorrow on the DNVR Broncos podcast.
Yeah.
We all silly like the mayor.